And her peaks blush rose in the morning light against a turquoise sky. The white tanks kiss the sunset out where the eagles fly. And her peaks blush rose in the morning light against a turquoise sky.
Yeah.
You know, there's a great story about, anybody ever read any Ben Green? You know, no Ben Green? Okay, put him on your list. There's a great book called 1,000 Miles of Mustangin'. And he wrote this, now he wrote quite a few things, and if you believe everything that Ben Green wrote, he single-handedly saved the Texas cattle industry. But 1,000 Miles of Mustangin' is a really good book, and it talks about late into the Depression, how he went down into Mexico, and that was when you could go down and cross the border a lot easier then. Go down into Mexico, and he rounded up about 200 head of wild horses, probably then, some of them were probably a few Mustangs in there. And he drove them up with the help of some Yaqui Indians, and drove them up, resupplied just outside of Tucson, and then brought them back around what is now Tabletop Mountain National Wilderness, and out behind the White Tank Mountains, and drove them up to Peach Springs, and made one phone call to Chicago, and sold them all for $25 a head. It was a lot of money in about 1928. And you know, for 200 horses, that was that. He got himself in because he was pretty hungry, and that's what he had to resort to do. And the resilience of people back in that day, how's that? He went and created his own job. But he is a good writer. 1,000 Miles of Mustangin'. Put it on your.
Wow.
Put it on your list, yeah. For some years I rode horses with a gal out in Maricopa. And she was breaking horses because she had 5 boys she was raising all by herself. And to take on horses at her place, she was able to be home with the little ones that weren't in school yet, and be home when the older ones got home from school. At least reasonably close to the house. And I didn't do any horse breaking, but I just stayed in the middle, and we just put miles on them, you know. And sometimes we'd ride out for 10 and come back, ride one and drag one. You know, and sometimes we'd ride out a ways and come back and get 2 more. You know, and Angie would tell me, excuse me, about the adventures and misadventures of raising 5 boys by yourself. And about that same time, I read a story, a true story. Angie's story, of course, is true, but I read a true story about 2 political enemies back in the 1800s down in Hereford, Arizona. And they were terrible. They hated each other, but their daughters played together. And one day a flash flood came along. Those little girls were playing in the San Pedro. I think it's the San Pedro down there. Playing in the San Pedro, and a flash flood came and washed them away. And it brought the 2 men back together. And but I just had to say, man, I can't imagine losing a child. And somehow, because that's the way a songwriter's mind works, Angie's story and this story came together. Excuse me. And created a story called Autumn's on Its Way. James and I, we settled this place. It must be 20 years gone by. Just kids we were, was born, she was her daddy's joy and pride. Through the work and the seasons, they were constant companions. Side by side, they'd sing and they'd ride. And now the light through the window tells me autumn's on its way, and a freshness on the breeze says it's due most any day. The days are getting shorter and the sun seems slow to rise, and the turning of the seasons in our lives we can't deny. Good horses, tough cows, and miles of grass, some luck and a whole lot of sweat. 5 kids on the ground and a house made of joy. We proved up and got far out of debt. But Abby went missing and we all searched for months. James, he swore he could still hear her voice. And when the grief finally took him, I dug his grave and we pressed on here with no other choice. And now the light through the window tells me autumn's on its way, and a freshness on the breeze says it's due most any day. The days are getting shorter and the sun seems slow to rise, and I see the questions dancing in the shadows of your eyes. 5 years now we've been out here alone. Then you rode in here last spring. We made out just fine and we prospered too. We never thought we were missing a thing. Now I see those boys, they need a man, and they take to your hand like that colt you started last week. You're respectful and kind, you got a straight thinking mind, and I wonder, do you ever think of me? The light through the window tells me autumn's on its way, and a freshness on the breeze says it's due most any day. Would you stay on through the winter, keep the canyon winds at bay? If there's love here in the springtime, there's nothing left to say. On its way, and a freshness on the breeze says it's due most any day. Stay on through the winter, keep the canyon winds at bay. If there's love here in the springtime, thank you. Well, thank you. Well, you know, what did he say? He didn't answer her, did he? So there's a book in the works. Yeah. And you'll find out in the book. But to give you a little insight into the character, the gal singing, and the gal telling the story, talking to the cowboy in there, in the song, her name is Rose McKenzie, and which ties into another story, of course. And when I was a little girl, my dad was in the Masons and got pretty high up in the Scottish Rite and all that. Of course, my family is from Scotland and Ireland. Scotland on my father's side, and Ireland on my mother's side. Came over as indentured servants on both sides. Actually, they were given an option. Anybody else have that family history? You have the option. Yes, go to the New World or we'll hang you. That was my family's option. And, you know, because they were cleaning up, they actually started out cleaning up the streets of London, and they shipped over about 3 boatloads initially. In the 1600s, they shipped over 3 boatloads.